Well, you are what you eat, right? If you're a diabetic and you're eating things that are going to spike your insulin, well, yeah, that's just what's happening. But is it really spiking your insulin? We don't know unless you wear one of those little monitors. But I think that Dr. Dansinger could give you a pretty good idea just by looking at your plate whether or not what you're eating is good for your diabetes or not. So I'm going to show a bunch of Dr. Danziger. I'm going to show a bunch of plates that diabetics have shared in multiple groups across Facebook where they think that what they're doing is a good thing. They're not necessarily looking at their glucose monitors and seeing it. But I don't know. Some of the dishes that I see, they just seem weird to me. I almost feel like they're just putting some olives on the plate and some lettuce on the plate and some eggs on the plate and going, here's my meal. And I'm thinking, why can't you put together a solid meal versus just little bits and pieces of this and that? There has to be a better way. But I'm not a doctor. You are. So I'm curious what you are going to think. I'm going to share my screen, Dr. Danziger. But
This is
first,
great,
I
Kim.
just
I'm really excited about this. We've never done it this way before where we're
no.
showing plates. It's genius.
And so, but I want to start off because I want people to realize that they're not the only ones that are not quite fixing their plates quite right. This is one of a dish that a diabetic shared of what a hospital gave them during a recent vascular surgery. They're a diabetic. What do you think?
It's a great start. Some hospital food is sometimes the worst.
Can we
And
even can we even on this?
it's an
Oh my God.
embarrassment that our
I mean, look at
medical
this roasted
profession hasn't.
potatoes.
So, so let's start again with the idea there's no one best eating strategy for everyone, and some people really benefit from lots of
Cornflakes?
whole grains and low fat. Other people benefit from something that's much lower in starch. So, what I really dislike about this particular plate is the combination of animal fat plus starch. I mean, that's the worst. And so, if I was going to um, rate what I see on the plate, I would I would give the eggs the best,
Yeah.
and the potatoes and the sausage are not to my liking at all. There's probably too much fat in that sausage unless it's lean, because animal fat can be bad for the arteries and clog them up. Roasted potatoes are a big starch load, a big calorie load. I don't like those cornflakes. I won't complain about the milk or the coffee if there's not a lot of um, sugar and fat there. So I would give this a thumbs down, 3 out of 10.
And the banana. And plus, it's
Oh,
just that's a lot of food. That is a lot of food. Okay, here we
hospital
go.
should be better than 3 out of 10, right?
I would think so. So here are some
But
of the so these are some of the community posts that we're going to get into now. These are what patients are saying. Hey, I'm a diabetic. Friends in the group, what do you think about what I'm posting? And I don't know, for me, this would give me indigestion and would not sit right in my stomach because it's just a little of this and that. I'm not that appetizer, munchy type person because it's just gonna give me a bellyache.
I see it differently. So
Okay.
this is definitely not hospital food, right? A hospital's not going to serve this up. And this is definitely not a traditional meal. It's not a meat, a vegetable, and a starch, right? So this,
Oh, that's what I typically you would I don't know. When I
but
think of a meal, that's what I think of.
you know, all of the components here look good to me. So what I'm seeing, we've got a hard-boiled egg, we've got vegetables in the form of radishes and kimchi and tomatoes, and we've got healthy fats from olives, and
Looks like
there's
cheese.
there's some cheese. Okay, so although many people would say, well, that's a weird meal, from a nutritional standpoint, I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay. So I stand corrected. And these are meals are all like this. So if this is the way to go, great. To me, that's not satisfying. Um, I don't know, maybe crispy bacon, sliced avocado, hard boiled egg. Now, I did see a study that showed if you eat avocado with bacon, it can actually neutralize the nitrates and stuff in the bacon. I don't know if that's true. That might have been a very biased study from a bacon maker, but I thought that was interesting.
That's interesting.
It's a
I'm a
good
little
attempt.
so here's what I like about this, and then what I'm not that keen on. So whenever I see avocado, I get excited. Let's call that healthy, natural. And whether you call it a fruit or a vegetable doesn't matter. It's healthy fat, and that's always a winner. And then an egg, okay, protein, and bacon. I'm not a fan of pork bacon. I just think it has a lot of animal fat and calories in it. And so um, this this type of meal definitely fits well with a ketogenic, very low carb Atkins style meal. And as long as I'm looking for leaner meats with less animal fat in them. But for someone who's following an Atkins very low carb eating style, this is definitely consistent with that. In general, I would give this about a 6 out of 10. So
Bad,
I
not bad.
I can't say thumbs up or thumbs down. I'll give it a mix.
And so
The-
here is kind of a more of traditional, but that's a big meal.
yeah, so what I'm seeing there, is a slice of whole grain bread, sun chips, some, vegetables, walnuts. So this is a pretty good example of a low fat, high fiber eating style. And so if that's the way you're eating, then good. So this kind of eating style is good for weight loss, and you know the it's moderate in calories. I mean, you could have a lower calorie meal, but for someone with diabetes who's trying to watch their starch, the bread and the sun chips are probably too much. And so this is a good strategy if you're following a low fat, high fiber diet. It's not a good strategy if you're very sensitive to starch. It would definitely spike your blood sugar. So for a non-diabetic, I'll give it a thumbs up. For a diabetic, I'm not so sure.
Right? And there is a distinction because we're also talking about artery health overall. So I think that's important.
Yeah.
Okay, so this person shared all of their different meals. And I don't know, again, to me, that's just a lot of food on a plate.
So you make a good point. The amount of so I mix feelings about that. Look at So in the upper left, I see a plate filled with produce plus eggs. So 3/4 of that plate is vegetable. I like that. It's a good
Mhm.
approach. And then you've got protein there. And yes, that's a lot of food. For some people, that's a big advantage, right? You're filling up on not that many calories. So you've got 2.5 eggs there, right? And then, so that can work. I think that eating strategy is pretty good. On the right, I see half a plate of green beans,
Corn.
half a plate of corn, and corn here is being used as a vegetable, not as a corn product. Corn's a little on the starchy side. That's definitely a plate without much protein. So that to me is not a full meal. I want to see protein there. And Kim, what are some of your thoughts about what,
I
in
liked some
addition to
of
the amount of
I like
food?
the ones you can see partial.
Hmm.
Um, the ones with the grilled fish, I think look like more well balanced plates. The fish, the greenery. One of them has tomatoes and green beans on it, if you can see at the very bottom. Um, to me, I think that the best plates are the ones actually on the left of the screen. Even the one where it shows, I don't know if that's a little bit of dipping sauce or something for those vegetables. Um, but I still like the ones where you have the protein, the one at the top with the eggs and the one at the bottom with the added fish. Not a big fan of an entire plate of corn
Right.
for the most part.
I'm with you. I like all the
How about,
colors that we saw there, though.
yeah, good colors. Okay, this one looks like we have some, I don't know if those are chicken pieces. Let's see, what does that say?
Salmon.
Salmon. Oh, this might be a really good plate. Oh, previously cooked bacon, a couple pieces of previously cooked, so reheated bacon and mixed vegetables and salmon.
Yeah, that's a nice meal. I like the salmon and the mixed vegetables. One of the nice things about, so those may very well be, frozen or canned mixed vegetables. I bet they came that way. Um,
Yeah,
Convenient. I like that. I like frozen a little better than canned, but canned mixed vegetables can certainly work as well. I'm always happy to see fish on the plate. There's a little bit of bacon there. I won't complain too much. Thumbs
yeah.
up.
You got to have your non-negotiable, right? Now, this person really thinks that, and for them, they might be doing much better. They went to Taco Bell and they were telling everybody that if you go to Taco Bell, that this is a great diabetic friendly meal that you can have. But the thing is, I think they mix up diabetic friendly and healthy in these instances. But two orders of steak and an order of beans with cheese and an unsweetened iced tea. Talk me through this.
Yeah, so let's give it a mixed review. First of all, fast food places like that, um, their food is always less healthy than it would appear. So obviously, there's a lot worse things you could eat there. I mean, it's a tough menu. If you're looking for a healthy meal, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if anyone can come out of Taco Bell with a healthy meal. That's not what it's for. So,
Mm.
um, this
Can we make the
meal,
distinction between
what,
diabetic friendly and healthy?
so well, I don't see that much of a distinction between diabetic and healthy. I mean, a diabetes plan does need to be healthy, but there are some healthy plans for some people that wouldn't work that well for diabetes. Here's the thing. So those beans and the cheese, there's probably a ton of fat hidden in those beans. I mean, they have to make them taste great. And the cheese on the surface is probably just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the amount of fat in those beans. That's just a guess. And then same deal with the steak. I think that there's a ton of fat hiding in that steak. So there's not a ton of starch here, but there's probably a lot of unhealthy fat mixed in. There might be sugar in there. Who knows what's going on there?
Oh, that's actually
So,
true. In some of the marinades, there is a
yeah,
lot of sugar.
absolutely. And so be on always be on the alert for, fast food places. Um, there's stuff lurking in there, probably. So, unless it's a salad, you're probably fooling yourself. Having said that, there's
Yeah.
lots of worse things you could get there.
He in the comments he had said it didn't spike his blood sugar.
Hmm.
So, that's the
Right.
thing in a lot of these groups, it might not spike your blood sugar, but doesn't mean it's healthy.
Yes, Kim, that is a really important point that I kind of glossed over. So, just because it doesn't spike your blood sugar does not mean it's healthy because there can be a lot of unhealthy fat and other stuff in there.
Yeah.
Absolutely important point.
So the arteries might not get clogged because of the blood sugar, but it'll get clogged because of something else.
Yes,
But
that's right.
here's something that's actually an interesting. I still the things that they pair together, very creative. This is another one of them. Um, Vegetables and I mean, I could almost look at these strawberries and yogurt as dessert.
It's a beautiful plate. I
Yeah,
see, protein, fruits, and vegetables. So,
I
it's
think that,
not everyone would get excited to have that as a meal, but each to their own, If we just look at the combination of foods together, that's a very healthy, terrific meal.
I mean, for me, I just kind of I sit and wonder, why not just make a salad? I mean, you have the fixings there. Drizzle a little olive oil on it, some pepper, a little bit of garlic, and you have a salad versus, to me, I would still be hungry an hour later and I would still have cravings. So that's great, but is it
Yeah.
satisfying?
I
Okay,
mean,
this one is breakfast.
okay. Yes.
So one egg, one
Um,
cup grapes, one piece keto bread, three sausage links. We know where the sausage links are going to fall, in your opinion.
so so if this was if someone was aiming for a keto meal, then the keto bread and the sausage and the egg would actually fit with that better than the grapes.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if someone is trying for an eating plan that focuses on natural foods, then the grapes and the eggs would be the stars, and then the manufactured food, the sausage and the keto bread, would be low down on the list. And I think this is an example that really helps point out that it's more important to be consistent with your eating plan. That I mean, it's important to be consistent with your eating plan.
Yeah.
So I think that takes priority over everything. Having said that, I just I I'm not a big fan of these keto breads. They don't spike the blood sugar nearly as much as regular breads, but it's still fake food to me.
Yeah,
So,
there's a lot of stuff in it, seed oils and emulsifiers and all that
mhm.
kind of stuff. So completely agree. This is interesting. Two orders, that's funny. Two orders of steak with sauce, banana, kale salad with seeds.
I love the kale. I'm not
Hmm.
going to complain too much about banana.
Oh, I guess I thought that was walnuts. I guess that's steak.
That's steak with sauce, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if it's lean red meat, I think that's fine. I like that better than the meat that we saw from the Taco Bell, which is undoubtedly, fattier than
Yeah.
than this. So I have no problem with lean steak. I have a problem with fatty meats. So I'll give this a thumbs up.
And it looks satisfying, actually. Okay, sausage links, more sausage. Sausage links, broccoli, greens, baby carrots, cantaloupe, sunflower seeds. This is another one, and cheese. This is another one where it's like, how does that sit in your belly? I would be nauseated. And
Well,
I
each
don't
to their
know.
own. Of course, we all like what's green on the plate and what's orange, right? And sunflower seeds are are healthy as well. So the controversy here is the meat and the cheese. So this is definitely a keto meal, right? Dr. Adkins would give a thumbs up on this because it's very low in carb. It's one of the lowest carb plates we've seen so far. And so if you're really focused on carb control, this fits it. But if you're worried about artery health, then I just think there's too much evidence showing that animal fat from meat and dairy is clogs the arteries. And so my criticisms would be let's find proteins that everyone agrees are healthy. Fish, poultry, I mean, seafood, of course. Um, the nice thing about sausage and cheese is how convenient it is, but I think that's the main positives here. So,
And you mentioned fish. We have Wanda
mhm.
in our audience that says she eats a lot of fish and especially sardines. And her coworkers are giving her trouble saying, well, now you're going to have way too high a levels of metals and mercury in your diet and you're doing more harm than good. Is there a balance? What are your thoughts? How would you help her
Yeah.
in that situation?
So, so it's partially correct to worry about mercury in fish. So, but we can be nuanced about which fish does versus does not have mercury. So all fish has traces of mercury. It's in the sea. But what we're worried about is the large predator fish that eat other fish. So the big sharks have a lot of mercury in them, but people aren't eating sharks. Swordfish have a lot of mercury in them. They eat fish that eat fish, and they're
Mhm.
these big and they concentrate the mercury. So, swordfish once a month. Tuna, not the small tuna, the big tuna. Those are the ones you might get as a tuna steak, one tuna steak a week, or the albacore tuna that you get in the can, two
Yeah.
cans a week of that albacore, but the small tuna, the yellowfin, you could probably, that only has a third as much. And then sardines don't even have enough to even talk about. So if you had sardines every day, for a week, it's not a problem. Sardines every day for your whole life, okay, that's a different, but people aren't doing that. So, I mean, I don't know anyone who has sardines every day. So, no, I just worry about swordfish, keep it to once a month. I worry about tuna steaks once a week, and I worry about the solid white tuna, two cans a week. That's the targets.
Okay. That's good. My dad was told by his dietitian that if he ate a piece of fish, such as a swordfish, at higher levels, to eat it in combination with Brazil nuts. So not sure exactly the whole story there, but I thought that was interesting. Worth
Okay.
probably investigating. Okay, here it is, an egg and veggie plate. Not too bad. Looks like those are those potatoes
There's
or oh,
jicama on that plate.
jicama.
Hard-boiled
Jicama
eggs, bell peppers, white cheese,
and
jicama,
turnip sticks.
turnip sticks. I think turnip sticks and jicama are terrific. They're underused. I wish it would occur to me to recommend those more because some people really like them. Or the pickled versions of those things can
Oh,
be
interesting.
terrific. So we've talked a lot about, cheese and eggs here. So this is a nice low carb meal. I mean, jicama and peppers and turnips are pretty low in carbs, so you'd have to eat a lot of those to spike your blood sugar. So I'll give this meal a thumbs up.
Perfect. Okay, and here's the last slide with lots of goodies. So, what I find interesting, I don't see it on here. Someone had posted a charcuterie plate as being a healthy meal. It's just cheese and processed meats. It's another one of those things that you would say Dr. Atkins would approve of. for keto. But is it necessarily healthy with, and you can even see in the bottom right, there are lots of processed meat in one of the corners. Up in the upper left, there's processed meat up there. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, Kim, is highly processed meats are not ideal. They're keto friendly, but they're they're animal fat clogs up the arteries, no doubt about it. And then with highly processed meats, it's hard to know. There's nitrites and nitrates and a lot of sodium, and it's not it's not ideal.
Yeah.
It's
Okay, what about this up to the right, bedtime snack? So I've heard a lot of people end up with a bedtime snack of bread because of their insulin dependent. Um, so it says here snack because I drop around 3 a.m.
mm.
sometimes, and this snack really helps. So natural peanut butter, bread, and strawberries with a little milk.
Yeah, so first of all, a person sh it's very important to coordinate with the prescriber of the insulin to get everything optimized. Person shouldn't feel like they have to work too hard to avoid low blood sugars. I mean, that's an insulin dosing issue. This meal, it definitely has carb, protein, and fat in it, right? So the milk has carb, protein, and fat. Peanut butter has mostly fat, but also some protein and some carb. Berries are all carb. Keto bread is fiber, but other stuff too. And so I would rather just see the berries and the peanut butter.
Yeah. And what do you think is the star here? Again, oh my God, the amount of food. But I'm coming from the perspective, I weigh a buck 15. So,
Yeah.
and I'm 5'4". So I'm not a big person. So all of this, and when you always talk about the protein should be just about the size of your fist, like if you look at the
Yeah.
second picture down on the far right there. Oh my Lord, that's a big piece of meat. I guess those are looks like barbecued ribs though. So it might be less meat and more rib, but there's also pasta on that plate, two different types of pasta on that plate, and maybe some potato salad or something.
So yes, in the middle right, what we're seeing there, I can read the fine print. So there's those are beef ribs and then a brand of pasta called Carpe Diem. So let's
Um,
call it a reduced carb pasta. And there's cheese sauce. So this this is getting closer to a keto friendly meal, but it's not that healthy. I'm not a big fan of the I'm not as a big fan of the reduced carb pastas any more than I am of the keto bread. And
yeah.
um yeah, there's a lot of unhealthy fat on that plate.
Yeah, but I'm looking bottom left, not too bad. I don't know why they need, I guess they two orders of steak, which is interesting. Kale salad with seeds, love to put the seeds on top. Little banana doesn't hurt, right? Which would be the winner in this whole group? What would you
Yeah.
think is the biggest winner?
We didn't see this one already, did we? So
Nope.
the kale salad looks terrific.
Yeah,
And so I would just like to pair that. So steak, right? Steak and sauce, we talked about that. If it's lean red meat, then I think that's much better than fatty red meat. We're looking for lean cuts of beef and to have a banana in there, okay, fine. So if you told me that beef is lean, I'd give it a thumbs up.
yeah. But as you see, just at the top before we end here, um, the fact that they needed to add the cheese, why do they need to add the cheese to that wonderful meal in the top center? But they already have, some sort of pasta with cheese on it or macaroni and cheese, and then adding additional blocks of cheese when I think the perfect meal would have been the broccoli, it looks like chicken, and some veggies on the side. I mean, I would think that would be a fantastic meal without the other two.
If you cut the bottom third off of that plate, it's a winner.
We'll end there. What meals surprise any of you? Make sure put it in comments. Would love to hear your thoughts as well. You can even share your plates. Share them at info at padhelp.org. And we'll have Dr. Dansinger take a look at what you're eating to see if it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And if you want personalized attention from Dr. Dansinger, he is covered by Medicare and Medicare Advantage PPO plans in New York, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Virginia, Minnesota, and Florida. So reach out through diabetesreversalpartners.com. And meantime, subscribe to both of our channels, Michael Danziger, MD on YouTube and The Way to My Heart. Have a great week, everybody.